Minnesota, Philadelphia, Washington, Denver, and lots more. You're watching WagerTalk Today, the best daily sports betting show on the planet. Kelly Stewart joining us right off the bat. Kel, how are you today?
Hey, good morning, gentlemen out there on the West Coast. I'm doing really well. I got my nice cup of Joe. I'm getting ready to do all of the Wager Talk shows today. And let's see, we've got Wager Talk Today. We've got a couple of hopeful winners. First week went 2-0. Last week, 0-2. It has just been a roller coaster so far for me, but we've got Bet on deck. I got Kelly and Murray later. We've got the hustle tomorrow. So busy week ahead of us. Hopefully we can find some outright underdog winners. Because, Texas Tech, the Colts, I don't know if my heart's going to recover from NFL week 1 and college football week 2.
Yeah, neither one of those was particularly friendly for either anyone that had Texas Tech or Indy.
We have to go through this again.
Both in the rough beat category. Kelly brought it up. Nonetheless, let's talk Thursday night football. The Vikings and the Eagles. Right now, looking at the Wager Talk live odds screen. Philadelphia pretty much painted 7 across the board, total of 49 for this ball game. The 7.5s, the 8s that were out there have been bought up. They took Minnesota plus. Was that just taking the hooks off the key numbers, Kelly, or do the wise guys actually like the Vikings in this game?
Teddy didn't check the Slack channel this morning, but we're going to talk about Thursday Night Football instead of the Golden Gophers at North Carolina, just for fun. I love this Vikings team, always have. Big Kirk Cousins fan, but we thought we'd see some regression from them. Wise guys took Tampa Bay last weekend. I was shocked to see the Vikings lose that one outright. I know a lot of people in the Circa Survivor contest were as well. But I'm telling you, this one's too many points here, Teddy. We have a Philadelphia team that very easily could have lost to the Pats. Sure, they got out there with that 17-0 start. And then what did the Pats do? They came roaring back. Listen, this is a Minnesota team that I think probably had maybe a look-ahead spot, right? Everybody really down on Tampa Bay. But we know they still have Justin Jefferson. We'll see if that defense can't come to play. Jalen Hurts, we know, does not lose games. 18 of his last 19 regular season games he has won. And as I mentioned, they got to get out of Foxborough alive. But Philadelphia, 0-7 before playing Monday Night Football. We'll see if Nick Sirianni can't squeak out a win here. But I actually do like the Vikings as well as the Gophers this week.
Teddy?
So in Slack, it clearly says on what games we're going to talk about. So we can point the finger at Lawrence right here in the Slack. Minnesota versus Philadelphia, not Minnesota versus North Carolina. Did you want to talk a little of the Gophers and Tar Heels?
Yeah, we can. Teddy, we can definitely talk them really quick. I think Minnesota, I've got 4 teams. I'll give them out here for the show, just for you guys for fun. I got 4 teams narrowed down in my moneyline parlay. We have the Houston Cougars plus 7.5, Florida Gators plus 6.5, South Alabama plus 6.5, and Minnesota plus 8. I've got a little bit more work to do in between shows today to figure out who can actually win the game outright. But this is not a play on PJ Fleck's team. This is a play against the Tar Heels. North Carolina, highly touted coming into the season, and rightfully so. Week 1, what did they do? They beat the crap out of, we'll call them their rival, South Carolina. But last week, double overtime. And I like to play against teams coming off double overtime, and that might be what keeps me off the Houston Cougars on the money line this week. Well, what do we know from Minnesota? Not a whole lot. Week 1, they narrowly escaped Nebraska. Last week, Joe Ranieri, our executive producer, and I were texting on last call, and he said, hey, Eastern Michigan plus 20, they have been a great against the spread team. We got the back door in that one. So as much as I complained about Texas Tech, I am thankful to cash that plus 20.5. But I think this Gophers defense is a lot better than they're getting credit for. They only allowed 16 points so far this season, and I expect them to step up here in a big way. I expect a low-scoring affair in Chapel Hill. If so, Minnesota's going to cover and maybe get the outright win.
Kelly, that was on me. You put in Minnesota. I thought it was Minnesota and Philadelphia, so my bad. Brilliantly handled, like a real pro, Kelly. Exceptional work already on Wager Talk Today. Kel, you do want to talk Washington and Denver. And Washington, that line is holding firm, plus 3.5 for Washington. really shocked here that Denver is more than a field goal. I always ask, do they deserve to be? I don't see it. I'm curious how you're betting this game.
Denver, I am a Broncos fan. Let's see where it is. Okay, right over here. I knew I had one somewhere. Broncos fan growing up. But if you guys remember, we talked about this with K-State. We talked about this with Denver. As a fan, I'm really, really hard on my teams. Last week, we took the Raiders in the contest. I didn't get to the window with them in real life, unfortunately, but they helped squeak me out a win in the Westgate Super Contest. And I took the Washington Football Commanders. Sorry, bad joke. I did take them in the Survivor and narrowly escaped. I usually do not like laying points here with the Denver Broncos. I would normally advise against it. But hey, listen, Russell Wilson is starting to get improved. Sean Payton is one of the better coaches in the NFL. Let's see if we can't get Jerry Jeudy back this week. If so, I'm going to be looking at laying the points here with the Broncos. I also think that they are going to be kind of that riskier survivor play, Teddy. I know everybody's going to want to back Buffalo laying pretty much 9.5, if not 10 against the Raiders. But I think this is going to be more of a play against Washington. We saw so many early mistakes last week for Sam Howell. He turned the ball over twice in the first half against Arizona. Arizona, maybe not as bad. We'll see. Maybe not as bad as everybody made them out to be. But Denver's defense should get to Sam Howell. He was sacked 6 times last Sunday, and I expect more of the same here in Denver.
So you like the Broncos minus the spot here, Kel? Because I got to ask you this.
I actually do.
Yeah, because my thought process on last week's game was I ain't laying more than a field goal with Denver.
Yeah.
After watching last week's game, my thought process this week is I ain't laying more than a field goal with Denver. Aren't you worried that Washington's defensive front, if you ask me what was the most impactful unit on the field in the Commanders-Cardinals game, Washington's defensive front dominated that game. Can't they do that against Denver's offensive line?
They absolutely did dominate that game. And in fact, they were the only reason why I got to cash that Survivor ticket in advance. That was absolutely and utterly scary. I understand the thought process in laying over a field goal here with Denver, but one of the things that I like to look at, Teddy, is the look-ahead lines that the Superbook puts out. So if you saw the line when they did every single game for 18 weeks, the line was 3.5. Denver loses the game to divisional rival, the Raiders. Washington squeaks out a win over Arizona, but the line hasn't moved. And that tells me that the bookmakers are holding strong here on the 3.5. I wouldn't be surprised to see people taking the 3.5 here with the Commanders, but I expect Sean Payton to have this team ready to get a home win here. I'm going to probably play them in half of my Survivor pools, and I am going to lay the 3.5 in the contest.
I mean, whole nother show, but why everybody thinks Sean Payton is some guru is beyond me.
Did you see what he did with the Saints year 1, 3, and 13?
He won
team?
one
Come
Super
on.
Bowl. One Super Bowl.
Wow.
Kelly, let's see that
Guys,
helmet
how many
again.
Super Bowls have you won?
6. Let's see that helmet again.
I don't even remember who signed it.
Let's see the rings, Lawrence.
Who did sign this?
My
I don't even remember. I've had
helmet's
this
bigger
forever.
than yours.
It is bigger
helmet's
than yours.
Bigger than yours.
All of mine are baby helmets, though.
I have some baby helmets. Go Redskins!
Since when is Prez a Redskins fan? Did I miss something?
I am
Of
this
all
Sunday.
random things, that
I
might
am
be the
this
most
Sunday,
random thing
baby.
you pulled up.
I'm going to be a Commanders fan this Sunday. I can't stand that name. Guys, before we get into
Did you sign
more
the petition,
Kelly,
Prez? I'll send it to you.
What?
There's a petition to go back to being called the Redskins now that Dan Snyder's out. I got you. I'll send it your way. That seems like right up your alley.
Okay, I'm so signing
Petitions
that.
work really
Anyway,
well.
before we get into more Kelly, welcome everybody to the show. Lots still left to talk about. We got What Did Bettors Learn, where Teddy's going to look at the Jets and their QB options. Eric P is joining us. He's got a prop bet for us on Thursday Night Football, and he's also got a bet for us on the Colts and Texans. We do have a betting strategy question, and Ali Burns at the end of the show, talking Maryland, Virginia, and one UFC bet. Kelly Stewart, I want to know what you're thinking Survivor-wise. Oh. Well, then she left. Well, Kelly, thank you. That was amazing. Anyway, Teddy, it's time for What Did Bettors Learn?
Let's do it. Let's talk about what bettors learned. And I mean, I've been amazed at what I've been reading in the mainstream media when it comes to the Jets quarterback situation. And I mean, amazed, like floored. All right. Everyone wants the Jets to get a non-roster quarterback. All right. You know, they can get Chris Streveler, who was on the roster in the preseason, but they're not likely going to do it. But some of the names, I mean, these are like commentators who are realistically throwing these names out for the Jets. They're come in right now. Again, it's week 2 of the season. Guys that have had no training camp that are going to come in and supposedly make the Jets better than Zach Wilson. These are the names that have been thrown. I've heard Joe Flacco and Carson Wentz. I'll take my chances with Zach Wilson. Thanks.
Yeah.
Both those guys, tired retreads, not going to help any team. Matt Ryan crashed and burned in Indy with a full offseason prepare. Quarterback is not a plug-and-play position, all right? Matt Ryan crashed and burned with a full offseason repair. He's not coming back to the Jets. I heard Colin Kaepernick's name. He's been out of football since 2016. Andrew Luck's been out of football since 2018. Phillip Rivers been out of football since 2020. Those guys ain't coming back 4 years later, 6 years later, 8 years later. Tom Brady's not coming back, okay? These are fake names. They're nonsense. So who's realistic? Well, you can get Nick Foles. You can get Colt McCoy. You can get Chase Daniel. You can get Mike Glennon. Is any of those guys better than Zach Wilson? No, not a one of them. Other names I've been heard about. Well, you can get P.J. Walker off somebody's practice squad, or John Wolford, or David Blau. No, none of those are better than the options that are already on the roster. Now, there are 2 backups in the league that, in theory, might be an upgrade for the Jets. Jameis Winston, Sam Darnold. They've had Sam Darnold already. I don't think they get him back. Jameis Winston, New Orleans, they're not trading Jameis Winston, all right? The Jets have Zach Wilson. That's their quarterback. Everything else that anyone is talking about is just trying to get clicks. There's no other option for the Jets except for what they have. And anything else is nonsense. And anyone that they try to put in there is not going to make the Jets any better in 2023. This is no longer a playoff team. Sorry. 500, 9-8, maybe. 12, 11 wins with any of those quarterbacks, not a one of them. Lawrence?
Yeah, I mean, listen, Teddy, the guy you didn't mention is Kaepernick. Everybody is talking about him again.
I mentioned him, if you listen.
Okay, well, you did so many names. I was listening.
The last time Colin Kaepernick took an NFL snap was
like
2016. It's 2023. Yeah. Colin Kaepernick is not coming back.
No, but I do suggest Jake Plummer or Jeff George.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Anyway, they're stuck with Zach Wilson. I mean, maybe they could figure out a way to pull Trey Lance out of Dallas, but is he an upgrade? No, not yet. Exactly.
It's not a plug and play position. All right. Whatever quarterback you have, you want an off season, you want a preseason, you're not getting a guy in week 2 who's going to have a positive impact on your team at the quarterback position. Just doesn't happen. Might have an emergency, but not this guy's going to make us a playoff team. Nope.
Teddy, last night at like close to midnight, Johnny Detroit does not stop working, dude. Like literally 11:45 p.m. He is slacking me. He's still working. It's unbelievable the amount of work that he puts in. Anyway, he logs on last night into Slack and he says, Prez, you are in the top 3 in profit earned over the last 365 days. You're number 1 in profit earned since September 22nd, which is almost 355 days. Let's give out a promo for you. So I woke up this morning and bam, there was a promo. Rest of 2023 for only $4.50 per day. And what I want to talk about here is a lot of guys put up in the Slack on our YouTube channels, etc. We can't afford to buy picks. We have to take the cost of the picks into account when we, based on our winning and our bankroll, et cetera, if we're spending $25 a day on a pick, We have to bet a couple of hundred to justify that pick. And we get it. And it's why we tell you guys constantly to buy long-term packages. Yeah. Buy long-term packages. At $4.50 a day, it will not affect your bankroll, and you will be able to win. Furthermore, you will go through our slumps and our streaks. And at the end of the day, you will be ahead of the game. We're all going to have slumps. We're all going to run hot. If you just pick and choose a daily package, which handicapper, what package, etc., that's a tough way to make a living betting. Take advantage of this, guys. I literally, if you bet $100 a play, $100 a unit on all my plays since January 1st, you're up close to $10,000. So $4.50 a day. Go over to my page. There it is, $499 till the end of the year. Take advantage of that package. Teddy covers. Kelly did just come on Slack and said, bet on it is tonight. Kelly and Murray and the Hustle tomorrow, 7 p.m. Eastern. Make sure to check her out. Eric Pauly joining us from the Gold Sheet. Eric, nice to have you with us. You'll be a regular guest every Tuesday, every Wednesday, same spot. Yeah, nice to have you, brother.
Good afternoon, guys. Nice to be back. Thank you guys for having me, and looking forward to being here every Wednesday during this football season.
Excellent. So, Eric, last week you had a prop bet for us. It was on a touchdown scorer. I've gone blank, but I think it won, right?
David Montgomery. Yes, sir.
Yeah, David Montgomery, and it did win. And I watched it, and I was like, go, go, go.
Me too. It's funny because a lot of times, during the week, people give out plays, and for some reason, Montgomery, because I think I went back on you pretty hard, and Montgomery got the TD. I'm like, there you go, buddy. Well done. Nice.
Oh, you got another one for us. Let's go.
Yeah, no, certainly. So definitely exciting to see Montgomery hit. I'm going with a player that needs no introduction for this Thursday night football matchup. Justin Jefferson, plus 125 at DraftKings. I got in for him to score a touchdown against the Birds on Thursday. And a couple of reasons why I'm interested in Jefferson, besides the fact that he is the best receiver in the league. But coming into this season, I had concerns about the Eagles' secondary, mostly about the depth. What happens now, James Bradbury is hurt, probably going to miss some time with a concussion. And now we're talking about the Eagles having to replace him with a rookie second-round pick and some other undrafted free agent rookies that they have. Part of the problem with the Eagles, they spent a ton of money on their stars, and now their depth is a little bit lacking. And we saw that this secondary is not as good as advertised in the first game, where Mac Jones, not somebody who lights the world on fire, completed 35 of 54 passes for 316 yards and 3 TDs. They look at the Minnesota Vikings offense. Of course, they lost that game against the Buccaneers, a little bit underwhelming, but Kirk Cousins had himself a great day besides the turnovers in the red zone. He still threw for 344 yards on 33 completions. And the reason why I like Jefferson in kind of a correction spot here, why I think plus 125 is completely mispriced, is Jefferson didn't see a single red zone target in that first game, considering, again, Cousins, 2 red zone turnovers, and they kicked a field goal from the 6-yard line instead of trying to make something happen in the red zone. Jefferson was second in the NFL in red zone targets last year with 29, just one behind Travis Kelce. And again, Jefferson can score from anywhere on the field. He's one of the best receivers in football. Added Jordan Addison. He's the best receiver that Jefferson's played with since Thielen his rookie year. Last couple of years, Thielen was not that guy. Addison is. He scored a touchdown in that big game. So the Eagles can't just distinctly hone in on Jefferson. And you always got to talk about the revenge factor. Jefferson still thinks about the Eagles drafting Jalen Reagor over him. And now he gets to go into Lincoln Financial Field against the depleted secondary with a chance to score. So I like just Jefferson, a guy who could score from 30, 40, 50 yards out. Also a red zone target funnel to find some pay dirt. Plus 125, great value on Thursday. But the game with the 48.5 total. So definitely expecting points.
So I want to ask you this. If I'm Philadelphia's coaching staff, there's only one guy on Minnesota I'm worried about, and that's Justin Jefferson. And my entire defensive game plan is going to be, if we shut down Justin Jefferson, we're going to win this game. Isn't that, isn't that what Philly's got to do here? And isn't that their entire mentality, is this one guy is the one guy we've got to shut down. Our whole game plan has got to be based on him. And you're saying, nah, ain't going to happen. Plus 125.
And just
Talk
to add to that,
concept.
Eric, just to add to that, because Teddy's 100% right. Buffalo's going to have the same problem with Diggs. It gets tough. It gets tougher for many without those weapons as they get closer to the end zone. And they sitting on the 7-yard line, man. Justin Jefferson's going to have a bitch of a time getting open.
Yeah, I think that's something that's just easier said than done. Like, obviously, your game plan should be to try to talk and not take, two safety high, have your best cover corner, Darius Slay, all over him all game long, and that's what you'd love that to happen. Just easier said than done. The Vikings also can run in the red zone, run a ton of motion with Justin Jefferson as well. So if he's on the move down in the red zone, he's going to get himself open potentially before the snap has even been snapped to Kirk Cousins. And just, again, you're looking at a guy who put up 1,800 receiving yards last year, only 8 receiving touchdowns. But, again, he was a red zone target funnel. So even if he is getting covered in the red zone, they're throwing him the football because he is the best player on the field. And then you have TJ Hockenson. They signed for a big contract. And again, I'm very bullish on this Jordan Addison rookie receiver, that if you're going to funnel and hone in on Jefferson, okay, maybe we lose this bet. But if you're a Minnesota Vikings backer, you're probably liking your chances because you do have 2 other weapons who are going to be able to put up a good fight. But again, Jefferson is just one of those kind of guys where when you're too good, you could, the whole world knows you're getting the football. He's still probably going to get the football. So those concerns are definitely there, but they're not stopping me at plus 125 to take him on Thursday night now.
Easier said than done. Could have just mic dropped after that. Okay. So the Colts are playing the Texans. This should be one of the most viewed games of the weekend for sure. Stroud looked good, man. He put up like 250, I think, yards, give or take, in the air. Richardson looked good. You got a total for us here. I'm curious as how Teddy, your facial expressions are exceptional. Dan, just stop it. We all have opinions. Yours are wrong, and it's fine. Dan, we should do a segment of just Teddy's facial expressions. Like a 3-minute clip on Teddy getting annoyed with me. Eric, there we go. Eric, under or over?
Yeah, looking at the under, this is something that the Gold Sheet team has identified as one of our tech plays for this weekend. Now, we do not bet anything solely based on trends, but when a trend is supported by also what's currently happening within the two teams, definitely warrants consideration for a play. And we're looking at the under 40 in this matchup. And just one thing, Texans-Colts, whenever they play each other, the under is 8-2 in the last 10 meetings, and the Texans are one of the heavier under teams. And I know you mentioned that you think Stroud and Richardson played well. I would agree more so that Richardson did, but both of these two guys, if you look at their numbers, their box score stats look good, but Richardson averaged just 5.0 net yards per attempt, while Stroud averaged actually 4 net yards per attempt. He lost a fumble. He was sacked 5 times. And Richardson also took that big hit to the end of the game and got banged up, and they're not going to be gambling with the future of their franchise in this matchup, so I would expect maybe for the runs to be toned back a little bit. But there was a lot of concern about the Houston Texans coming into this year because, last year they were abysmal and their defense was considered to be one of the biggest problems. But last season, their defense was actually 18th in the league in EPA, so middle of the pack and not as bad as people think. You brought in a bunch of veterans on that team, including some rookies as well, with Will Anderson, the high draft pick, and D'Amico Ryans, rookie head coach who played in the NFL on the defensive side of the ball, was a defensive coordinator. That's on his mind. So you have two teams that always play each other very closely with underrated defenses. Though Trevor Lawrence played a great game, the Colts defense did a couple of things to make him uncomfortable, and they can make Trevor Lawrence uncomfortable. I'm sure they can make C.J. Stroud uncomfortable, and vice versa. If the Texas defense could get to Lamar Jackson, I'm sure they can get to Anthony Richardson as well. So relying on two rookie passers to, especially in teams that dominate the ground game with defenses that are, middle of the pack, not as bad as people think, does not lead to points. So I'm taking the under in the Gold Sheet put out as a tech play, the under for the Colts-Texans game on Sunday.
Is Richardson going this week? I've heard that the knee injury that he suffered is dicey. And would you still like it if it was Gardner Minshew instead of Anthony Richardson? Is that a difference maker for you at the quarterback position?
So I saw probable. Of course, we have a bunch of time for Sunday that happened for injury reports to come in. So certainly something to monitor there. We saw a couple of 39.5s too. So this number might be ticking a little bit low. Gardner Minshew, familiar with the offense because he was in Philly with Shane Steichen last year. But the offense that you run with Gardner Minshew is going to be night and day than the offense you run with Anthony Richardson and Jalen Hurts last year. So as long as the Texans are able to get pressure like they were against the Baltimore Ravens, that's going to make any quarterback uncomfortable, and they are the home team in this game. It definitely changes things a little bit, but I am seeing probable for Richardson, and doesn't really move me too much. Does not move the needle too much for me if it's Gardner Minshew against this defense. Again, the Texans defense, dare I say, at this point is slightly underrated, though we are still talking about a middle of the pack defense, nothing too crazy.
Guys, if you like what you're hearing, please take 1 second out of your day and hit that like button. 334 of you live right now. 52 likes. We can do better than that. Also, subscribe to our channel, please. We got a lot of incredible content on our channel, WagerTalk TV. I mean, bet on it. One of the top listened shows online. Teddy's opening line report. The NFL presidential address is up right now, part 1. It's already at over 2,000 views. Great comments, much appreciated. So subscribe to our channel. You can always unsubscribe if you don't want to later. Eric, what do you got going for our clients? Tell us about the Gold Sheet. The next minute is all yours.
Gold Sheet. NFL Week 2 and College Football Week 3 is up at goldsheet.com. You can buy a season package or go week to week. Of course, always advocate for the seasonal, for the savings. We will have a full slate of college football and NFL picks for this weekend. We do it on WagerTalk.com as all access style, so you can get every single pick for Saturday, Sunday, Monday, or Thursday, whichever games you're playing, right there in one spot. And also, speaking of the great content on WagerTalk TV, I do every single week a teaser report and an anytime touchdown score report for different games. So you get standalone 5-minute videos of content on teasers and touchdowns. And also our producer, Dan Alexander, and we also do a show where we discuss all topics from the NFL, break down games on Thursdays. On Tuesdays, we do some overreactions and underreactions and break down that Thursday night game every single week. WagerTalk.com, WagerTalk TV on YouTube.
And Eric, I hear Dan is an exceptional host, and he models himself after the Prez. I hear he has a picture of me on his desk, and every time somebody says something, he goes, "What would the Prez do?" So it's greatly appreciated. It's nice to be someone's mentor. Eric, Pauly, everyone. Thank you, my brother. Be well. We'll see you next Wednesday. Teddy, we should have Dan on our show one of these days. Don't you think?
Okay. I'd love to.
Dan, what do you say, bro? You want to come on the show and yap with us? There you go. We'll get Dan in next week, everybody, and then you could see little Prez. Teddy covers. It's time. Wait. So yesterday's show was epic. I watched it over again. I loved every moment of it. But I want to tell you guys, there was a total misunderstanding with Las Vegas Chris, and it's all good because he came on this show and gave out 2 baseball bets, and they went 2-0. As far as I'm concerned, that is all you need to do. You don't need to do anything else. If your analysis sucks, who cares? If your analysis is great and you lose, who cares? If you run out of internet and you have to drive to Ralph Michaels' house, who cares? Las Vegas Chris, one of the best bettors on the planet, graced us yesterday, created an epic forever segment, and Mike dropped on a 2-0. Teddy, it's time for your big game breakdown.
Let's do it. Big game breakdown time. Let's go to Nashville, Tennessee, and talk about the LA Chargers and the Tennessee Titans. Right now, look at the WagerTalk live odds screen. I'm seeing LA -3, total 45. We talked about Tennessee last week on this show. How Tennessee really, there's only one game they want to play. Physical, defensive, low scoring. We talked about that with a big game breakdown, talking about the Titans and the Saints under the total, a game that stayed under, I believe, by double digits. When we look at Tennessee, their last 15 games, they've gone under 45 14 times. All right. So we have a coach with a game plan that is consistent. We know what Tennessee wants to do going in. Now, look, LA defense, they struggled against Miami. Certainly the passing game they did. But Tennessee's not Miami when it comes to passing the football. Not even close when it comes to a downfield passing game. Tannehill's not Tua, and you compare the receivers, they ain't close. So we have a team that we know how they want to play. We have an offense and a defense that may be a little bit underrated right now in LA because they got bombed last week. We have sitting here with 45. Yeah, I'll go under. All right. 45, too high for this better. Expect a relatively low-scoring affair in Nashville on Sunday. There's your big game breakdown. Back to you, Mr. Prez.
Teddy, conceptually, I'm with you, and I talk about this game in detail on the presidential address. It's one of those totals where I just stay away because the Chargers are an over team, period, and they found a nice balance. Last week, they were the number one rush team in the league, and that was after being the worst running team all year last year. Tennessee's an under team. The Chargers are an over team. Do you like Tennessee in this spot?
I want to go back to you saying that the Chargers are clearly an over team because I couldn't disagree more strongly.
Well, they're 1-0 to the over so far.
Yes. We're talking about moving forward. All right. The Chargers defense is loaded. All right. Loaded.
Oh, yeah.
Miami's receivers are unguardable. There isn't another team in the league that has a group of receivers like Miami has. The Chargers blew up the line of scrimmage at times last week. Tua just made plays. I don't think you can run easily. And Miami couldn't run the football effectively last week against LA. I don't think the Chargers defense is lousy. I don't think, and the fact they ran the football tells us they had a drive, the touchdown drive. They ran on 10 of 11 plays. I don't know the Chargers are an over team. I'm not convinced they are at all. For the game-wise, side-wise. Yeah, side-wise, I'm probably not going to play. Total-wise.
Teddy, there's 17 games. If the Chargers go 9-8 to the over, you have to shave your eyebrow. If they don't,
already 1-0 to the over.
I'll shave your other eyebrow.
Yeah, okay, great bet.
Good bet? Okay.
No bet.
Fine. BS strategy segment. Guys, we need questions. Teddy and I absolutely love doing this segment, but we can't do it without your questions. Rake Shop 6498 asks, Teddy and Prez, question for you guys. Do you think to become a professional handicapper, there should be a license or certification process to filter out all the bullshit? It's like I'm not an accountant unless I get a CPA. Just curious on your thoughts to legitimize this profession, et cetera, et cetera. So, Teddy, I get it. And especially with TikTok and Instagram and whatnot, there are a million pundits out there all giving their picks, et cetera, et cetera. This is something I actually looked into 15, 20 years ago, and it required finding an accounting firm to monitor all the picks put out, et cetera, et cetera. It was a fortune of money to do. The bottom line is there are a million people who get on TikTok and YouTube and give out stock tips. They are not stockbrokers and they are not certified. This is a great thought and an excellent concept, but it's just one of those things that's impossible to do. With that said, we do it. We at WagerTalk do that for you guys. We don't just throw up some guy because he says he can win. We monitor these guys. We pay attention. We know what's going on. We, in essence, certify the guys that come on our website. The second point is you have to be a big man and think for yourself. It is not unrealistic to expect the viewers, the listeners, the clients to understand who is just spewing shit and who actually knows what they're talking about. I love the concept. It's impossible to pull off, but we do it for you, Teddy.
Yeah, and the answer is impossible. There are monitoring services out there, and many of them aren't trustworthy.
Yeah, the monitoring services are a load of crap.
We're monitoring you, yeah, but it's run by someone who owns one or some of the services. Yeah. I mean, there's dicey stuff all over the place in this business. When it comes to let's get a new area of regulation from regulators who don't understand the industry, it's not. Again, it's a nice concept. It's not realistic. My advice, if you're looking for filters, is, easy enough for me to say. I've been doing this for 26 years, but there's no barriers to entry in this business. None. The only barrier is barrier to continuing going. And you see people, they start, oh yeah, I'm a handicapper, and oh yeah, now I'm not. Now I got another job. The answer is sustain, doing it for a while. If you're doing it for a while, it means that number one, you've got clients that are willing to stick with you, and number two, you've shown some acumen in what you do. In my mind, that's meaningful. But there are no right answers to this, and there's certainly no easy process to monitor handicappers. That's why we look to be honest and transparent with you day in, day out. That's why we put out content for you that you guys get to know who we are and know whether we're bullshitters or not. And the bottom line is we do the best we can in an industry space that's not well regulated. But if it was regulated, it would probably be every bit as bad, if not worse.
Well said, Theodore. Okay, it's time for Ali Burns, everybody. Ali, welcome to the show. Nice to have you. Nice to see you. Hope you're well. Hope you and Ben had a wonderful first week in the NFL.
We rocked and rolled it. As far as I remember a lot of winning things, but the first week of the NFL is always a little hazy for me. There's a lot going on there. A lot of beers it's Vegas, man. A lot's happening here.
I get it. Listen, Ali, just before you came on, I mentioned a side wager with Teddy for his eyebrow. Teddy, one of the listeners said you need to keep your eyebrows. They are epic. So I just wanted to throw that out there. You have epic eyebrows. Ali!
Damn straight.
Yeah, baby. I don't know. You dye your eyebrows or your hair? Anyway, Ali, no. Maryland, Virginia. Maryland minus 14.5. How do we bet this game?
This one was kind of tricky. Ben and I went over it. He really likes a full game play. I kind of like the first half play on this one. There's just Virginia's in a spot. They hadn't played in 295 days. Those 3 kids got shot. That was a big deal. And then their first game after all those days being off, they're playing against Tennessee at home, so got a walloping there. They go home, they cover against James Madison, but it was a bit of a heartbreak loss. And then on the flip side, we've got Maryland who, they plow through Towson. Charlotte got a little bit dicey there. Virginia, Maryland, if this was a college basketball game, we would all be dying to watch, but this is not that kind of a game. So here's Ben's spiel. That was my spiel. I'm going to go into Ben's spiel. So last week in the home opener, it was a winnable game against James Madison, but it was a wild game. There were weather issues involved there too. Things were going great and they came back after the weather, and then that wasn't so great for them. But they got outscored 12-0 in the fourth quarter, and that was kind of a big heartbreak. Ben thinks it's going to be tough for them to bounce back for that kind of heartbreaking loss. I was seeing it maybe from the side that Maryland or that Virginia kind of got a taste in their mouth, and so maybe they'll be a little bit more geared up to go. The thing is that Maryland, I always say his name wrong. I call him Toe Tag because I can never remember his name. Toalea Tagovailoa. Did I do it? Maybe. So Toe Tag has this great freaking game against, Towson, who's no good, right? But then they play Charlotte and Pow, pow, right out the gate. Charlotte scores 2 touchdowns. All of a sudden, they're down 14. Holy crap. He was so good in that Towson game. He didn't even end up playing the fourth quarter, but man, they were scrambling to get that win towards the end of the game there. So I kind of like Maryland to come out hot in the first half minus the 8 points, just because I think that, he knew that was his good spot. That's where he really excelled, and he does not want to get into any kind of trouble like that again. Also want to mention that Maryland plays Michigan State up next. So they've definitely got a little bit of a look ahead here. I don't think 14.5 is too many points, but it is moving up to 15.5. If you can get 14.5, buy it down and get that 14. Ben likes it all the way up to 15. I like it first half minus the 8. So that's kind of the way we're playing. I like his play too. Sometimes we disagree on things. You know that about us, but I don't disagree.
You're
I just
a man and a woman in a relationship. You're a man and a woman in a relationship, not physical, but a relationship nonetheless. Find me any of those that don't disagree, Teddy.
Yeah, so we're looking at Maryland first half versus / Maryland full game over Virginia. Right. This is my only question with the Terps, all right, because this is a problem that I always have with Maryland. Can we trust them to lay a price? Maryland, sometimes you talked about it last week. When they get a lead, they fall asleep. It's not a team that always plays 60 minutes of quality football. Does that concern you here at all?
I don't think so, because I think because that last game against Charlotte was so icky for them for a minute there. I think that they're going to want to come out and get a strong, solid lead. And they're going to want to enter that Michigan State game off of a big blowout win and get that confidence and motivation up. No one wants to go see Sparty at Sparty coming off like a rocky loss to Virginia, or a no cover to Virginia, although Maryland has not really been covering, which is also part of why I like the first half too. But, I think they really want a big blowout win, and Ben does too. We actually talked about this. I think they really want that big blowout win to go with Sparty, just for the motivation. I'm not counting. I'm not. Yeah. Go ahead. Sorry. I'm done.
Oh, I like that little, that was excellent. Teddy?
I'm still waiting for my What Would Prez Do bracelet to come in the mail, by the way. My WWPD bracelet. I'm waiting for that to come in the mail.
Do I see tats on your fingers?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Right. Fold. Okay. Ali, we got one more bet. Kevin Holland against JDM, Jake Della Maddalena. That's a nice name.
I love his name. It's the best name ever. Della Maddalena.
You like him on the money line. Tell us why.
We do. It's a minus 141, not too juicy for us. So if you guys don't know already, Ben is huge into the UFC. If you want to hang out with Ben Burns on a Saturday, you are going to be watching fights. That's just how Ben rolls, okay? He's 6-0 in his last 6 plays. He's 18-4 since February, so he's rocking and rolling. So, excuse me. So JDM, Jack Della Maddalena, he lost his first 2 fights when he became a pro. But since then, he's won 15 of them in a row. And one of those 15 was actually a first round knockout against one of the guys that beat him in the first place. Now he's going to be facing Kevin Holland. He's a unique fighter. He's a little bit unpredictable, but we think the JDM gets it done here. While he's been winning and winning, Holland's actually had 4 losses since 2021 alone. He's faced defeat 9 times as a professional. And then Jack Della Maddalena, sorry, I got to do the whole thing in my head or I'll forget. It's like toe tag. It's little tricks you have to do as a host. He's an Australian. JDM's an Australian. So he really wanted to fight last week when they were in Sydney. Holland said, nah, we'll back off of that one. And so now here's the rematch, and JDM is not happy about it. There's a quote that he says, quote, I just want to show I'm better than him. I want to really piece him up, put on a masterclass, and just let him know that we're not on the same level. That's my goal, and that's what we're going to do. And that's what Ben and I think that he does. So we're going to go with JDM minus the 141. This is a Saturday night pick, and that football is a Friday night pick. So just to throw that all out there. We're giving you some future stuff right now.
Brilliant stuff. Ali Burns, real quick, 30 seconds. What do you have to promote?
All right. Well, Like we said, Ben is 18-4 in the UFC since February. He's number one MMA handicapper at WagerTalk, and his 7th straight winner is ready to go right now over at the site. He already has a few big football plays ready to go. He's working away on the rest of his card. He's got a pair of baseball games that are going today. One of them starts soon, but the second one is one of his top plays. I believe it's a 5%er. So make sure you guys follow us. I'm at Plus Money Honey. He's at Real Ben Burns. And if you guys aren't watching the Ben Burns Report right here on WagerTalk TV, then you need to ask somebody because you're missing out. Okay, the Ben Burns Report's where it's at.
There you go. Plus Money Honey, the best Twitter handle out there. Teddy covers. Fun show, man. Shout out to Kelly, to Ali, and to Eric. Awesome work. Shout out to the team in the back, Dan and Joe and the rest of them. Guys, please check out my NFL presidential address. It is up now. You can find it at our YouTube channel, WagerTalk TV. Great show lined up tomorrow, my brother. Until then, I'm going golfing. Take us home.
Sure. And of course, opening line report, more than 12,000 views already. Thank you guys so much. It's still available over on WagerTalk TV. And we'll be back with another edition of WagerTalk Today. Same bat time, same bat channel. We'll see you guys tomorrow.